I'm here with Robert Yoshimi Okamoto, who is one of the remaining that was alive during the Japanese internment camps and was one of the incarcerated. He just so happens to be my grandpa, and he just turned 94 last week, and I'm happy to have him as my first guest. So, Grandpa, thank you for doing this.
Okay,
All right.
94, huh? Okay, it's about time.
So, I want to talk a little bit about your early life. And from what you remember, what was childhood like before the war?
Okay, so before the war, let's see, the war started in 1941 as far as the United States was concerned. I was born in 1931. So when the war started, I was about 10 years old. Okay, so childhood before the war, is a span of 10 years. Probably the first 3 or 4 years I don't remember. Kids don't remember. Um, and the earliest that I remember is when I was about 3, because I have a picture of myself that my mother she 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 dressed me in a costume. It was a Philip Morris um, costume, and I was pictured with a nurse, Miss Freer. That was when I was in a sanatorium where my mother was also in Weimar, California. Okay, that's part of my childhood. I don't remember much about that period because too young, I guess. The only thing I remember is when they put me. Oh, I was there because of my mom being there. They thought she had tuberculosis. She didn't have tuberculosis, but they kept her there. I'm not quite sure how long, but uh, I was there at that sanatorium in a different ward for kids. There was nothing that I was aware of that I needed to be there. So anyhow, the recollection I remember, they put me in the bathtub, bathed me, and the nurse would set me in the tub, start the water, and they would leave. And I guess they knew it was going to take a while for the tub to fill. Uh, and of course, I got worried. What happens? What happens when the water fills and overflows? Okay, well that memory I remember. That's about the only thing I remember about
Okay, so
that. Okay,
where were you living when Pearl Harbor occurred?
okay. When Pearl Harbor occurred, I was okay. I was living in Sacramento. Um, my parents were always farming until about 2 years before the war. They moved into town, the city of Sacramento, and managed a small hotel. Um, so that I was about 8 years old, and I finally lived in the city. In the country, childhood was not much interesting, you know.
So what were the living conditions like
Eh,
on the farm?
On the farm, this is a truck farm. We grew vegetables. Um, they're out there. I don't know how big the acreage was, but um, I was the only child, and I had no friends. I remember going to school. You had to walk out to the highway, and the school bus would pick you up, take you to school. And that happened to be in this town of Broderick. Broderick is just west of Sacramento. You cross the Sacramento River on the west side of Sacramento, and there's a town called Broderick. It doesn't exist as Broderick anymore. It is called West Sacramento. Okay, so uh, on a farm, kids,
There's no fun in that.
there's no fun, no
Yeah.
neighbors, no friends,
Uh huh.
um, not much fun.
Mm. How did your family find out that they were going to be relocated?
Okay, there were posters posted, public posters that indicated that Japanese people of Japanese ancestry were going to be relocated. Okay, so here's a public notice. You know, they put uh, these, well, there were notices that were stapled to telephone poles. Um, and that's how we found out. That that was quite a shock. Now, you know, Pearl Harbor attack occurred December 7th. But these posters were posted a couple months later. But between the December 7th and the posting of the announcement, there were curfews, and of course, at night, I remember the curfews because I was a kid. I lived in town now. You know, you could play out in the streets. Not during the curfew. You had to come in before dark, and of course, I was a typical kid. I didn't pay much attention to that.
What camp? So when you and your family were relocated, did you have to go to a different state, or was it something that was in California?
Okay, we were told to assemble uh, in a particular location, the City Hall of Sacramento, and on a certain date. And we were to be loaded on buses and taken to places unknown. Okay, it turned out that our first stop was in Marysville. At Marysville, there was a camp called Walurga Assembly Center. It was a temporary camp where we assembled there until we were then moved to another camp. We were probably there a couple months because I remember they had a mess hall. Now, all the people from Sacramento area assembled there, and so there's quite a few. I don't know the population, but there are more Japanese than I thought there existed.
How many people were in the internment camps? How many Japanese Americans?
Okay, there were a total, eventually, from that Walurga Assembly Center, we went to one of the main camps, which was Tule Lake, Northern California, close to the Oregon border. That was a huge camp. The population was 16, 17,000, maybe more. And anyhow, it was it was a lot of people that look like us, uh, and they came. That camp, people that came to that camp were from certain parts of Sacramento was one of the main areas. Oregon, Washington. So that was the camp that housed all those people in Northern California and Oregon and Washington. So
So you ended up in Northern California?
yes,
I see. And what were the camp conditions generally like?
okay. Camp was very orderly. The way it was arranged. There were blocks. They had blocks. Each block is like the next block. Uh, I lived in block 71. 71. That's quite a few. Now each block was consisted of several barracks, and each block had a mess hall, had a common bathhouse, uh, had a wash area. There was no inside plumbing in the barracks. What you had is a room and a potbelly stove.
So where did you sleep? What
We
was?
s- we-
Did you have a bed or
Yeah, we slept on cots.
cots?
They were kind of like army cots, single bed cots on sort of makeshift mattresses. If you're going to go camping, those are the kind of mattresses that you slept on. Okay.
So how much, in terms of privacy, how much privacy did you have? Was it like a room? Was it?
Okay, each barrack had 6 rooms. Um, they were about 20 by 20 each room. Um, it was not double wall. Uh, you had tar paper exterior, and uh, and your neighbors was open. It wasn't closed up all the way.
Oh, so that not very
No.
much privacy.
No.
So just to back up for a second, for the people that don't know, what were the reason for the internment camps to begin with? Why were the Japanese people targeted?
Well, of course, there was the attack of Pearl Harbor. It was in Hawaii. Okay, and the areas that were of concern apparently were the western states: Washington, Oregon, California, and I understood parts of Arizona. And because that's the side that faces the Pacific Ocean. And the concern, I guess, was that uh, we were going to help the Japanese uh, in their attack of the United States. I mean, I guess I'm not sure that's common sense, but that's obviously a thought. And so that the 3 western states were considered off limits to Japanese as people of Japanese ancestry. So you could be born in the United States. Your grandparents could be there. All people of Japanese ancestry were considered. So that amounted to about 120,000 Um, okay, so the government then built 10, uh, 10 camps. Okay, so two were in California. There was one in Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Wyoming, two in Arizona, and two in Arkansas. Okay, so there were 10.
So, how were the Japanese people treated while they were at these camps? Was there respect towards them? Was there a lot of disrespect? Do you remember anything regarding that?
Well, as a 10-year-old, I don't recall. I guess I don't know what disrespect might be face to face. We never. All I know is that each camp had a fence all around it, and there were towers, and they were in very remote places. I happened to be in Tule Lake, which is it was a kind of a desert-like area, no trees, uh, very remote. Um, uh, but it was you might say it was a large community because there were, I believe their population was somewhere around 17 or 18,000.
Wow.
That was considered the largest of all the camps.
So, how long were you guys forced to live there?
Well, we didn't know how long we were going to be there, but after the first year, there was there was a questionnaire. Uh, I guess it was considered a loyalty questionnaire. I don't recall the word for word um, question, but there were two questions that that tested your loyalty to the government. Okay, I mean, which was not very well taken by any of the adults. Okay, you were just picked up and
Well,
taken
yeah,
to a
it's
camp.
disrespectful in a way.
Yeah, well, you lost your rights if you were a citizen, and most of us were citizens. We were, my parents were born there. I was born there. My grandparents came from Japan.
Born in the United States, you're saying?
Yes.
You're right. So, see, I can't even imagine how frustrating that would be there because you don't know when you're getting out. You might, I
Well,
would assume it's hard to have hope when there's not a lot of communication, I'm assuming, between guards and the Japanese Americans. So I'm sure it was very stressful for your parents.
yeah. I wouldn't say my parents because I never saw them or heard them complain.
Wow.
Okay, I mean, outwardly complain. Now, I know there was a lot of dissension among a lot of adults. Well, the fact that your rights were taken away. Okay, so that's I guess understandable, but there's no hearing. This was executive order that put us in the camp. Uh, President Roosevelt signed the executive order 9066. Okay, and I never knew what that was when I was a kid.
Right.
But you go where your parents go.
Right.
Uh, but I never heard my parents ever complain about the fact that they were there. But there were a lot of dissension. There, there were there were people that came. They were born in the United States, educated in Japan. Those people gave a lot of gave the government a lot of trouble.
So what happens when you get out? What do you just go back to the farm, back to your home? How did
Okay.
that work?
Well, if you had a farm, I guess you could have gone back to it. Uh, During that period of time, not too many people own, not too many Japanese people own things. You
Right.
know, they're, I know we didn't own anything. When my father was farming, I guess they leased land. I don't know what the conditions were. When we had a hotel, we leased a hotel. So when we left for camp, we had no place to come back to.
Wow.
Uh, so anyhow, that had to be a very traumatic time for all the internees, because if you came from 3 states, we happened to, after Tule Lake, we happened to end up, after the first year in Tule Lake, we ended up in Rower, Arkansas, one of the camps in Arkansas. That's not that's not close to California.
I mean, that sounds like, so were the conditions a lot hotter there, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah, uh, hot, humid, and uh, I was there because my mother's side family, they were from Stockton. The Stockton people ended up in Rower, Arkansas. So we transferred to Rower, Arkansas, and the reason for that is, the reason why a lot of this transfer took place is because there was a questionnaire that I was speaking about earlier, and there were two questions in that question that had tested your loyalty to the government. Now, I don't have the word for word uh, uh, way it was written, but it basically said that, if you're loyal to the government, United States government, uh, you would say yes or no. And and would you serve in the army?
Right.
I mean, in a sense, it seems like a silly question under the circumstances. I mean, I didn't understand it. I was not old enough to even know about it, but I know that there was this questionnaire, and if you answered yes to both, it indicated your loyalty. If you answered no, you indicated you're disloyal.
Uh,
Okay, so and all the camps had to go through this questionnaire. Well, my parents answered yes, yes to both those questions, and Tule Lake happened to be the camp that they were going to put the no-nos. So the no-nos from all the other camps had to be transferred to Tule Lake. And for those that were yes, yes, we could go elsewhere. Okay, so we ended up going to Rower, Arkansas, uh, where my relatives from my mother's side lived. So we were there. We were there for 2.5 years.
Do you have any memories or recollection of how you were treated when you were out?
Well, I personally was never um, called a Jap face to face. I mean, we're kids yet. I was still a kid, but we knew that there was discrimination. I mean, that's why we had to go. Okay, so you know, and then when we come back to the area where we lived before, um, you're not sure what's going to happen. You're not sure how, but you know that there was a war. Okay, and we heard about all the discrimination that took place. I mean, it's in the papers. It's you've heard about it,
Right.
and
So
yeah.
your your brother was born in the internment camps.
Oh yes.
How does that work?
Well, my mother, my mother, well, her doctor in camp said that she had a tumor.
A tumor.
Yes. Okay, so, well, she didn't know how to take that. She thought she didn't think that she had a tumor. Uh, so anyhow, she got permission to go outside of camp. I think she went to St. Louis, which was close to Rower, Arkansas. Um, and she got a second opinion from a outside doctor. And the doctor said that she was pregnant. Oh, okay. Pregnant and tumor.
Yeah, they're worlds apart. Do you think that? So I'm assuming there was a doctor in the barracks who told her she had a tumor. Do you feel? I mean, tumor and baby
Okay.
are worlds apart.
Okay. I don't know the circumstances, but in camp there were Japanese doctors that were internees. I mean, doctors that were internees, obviously, were uh, treated the camp
Right.
internees. Okay, and then there were Caucasian doctors also. Um, so, and in a camp, it's not like a, a modern hospital,
Right.
the modern of those days.
Right.
So I don't know what the reason was for the uh, diagnosis, but she was pregnant, and so she came back to camp and she had my brother Tommy. Uh, that that was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, that's a very unique situation.
Yes. No, there were other kids that were born in camp too. You know.
So generally, on the topic of internment camps, do you think something like that could happen again?
Uh, Definitely, and I can say that definitely because you see sort of signs of it today. I mean, you know, the the today the people that were in camp or know about camp, the camp that we were in, they have a day of remembrance every year.
Wow.
Most cities, most big cities in the United States will have a day of remembrance, so that they want to make sure that this incident, this incident is going to be remembered, and we try to remind ourselves, and we want to remind the general public that it could happen again. Um, and for obvious reasons, that there are signs that there is a possibility of this sort of thing happening. Well, it's happened in the past already. You know, there have been the immigration situation. We're not we've disallowed people, certain nationalities coming to the states,
All right.
right? Uh,
I'm gonna pause it for a second
okay.
because I want you to just hold it like that
Oh,
and just make sure that
okay. It's
you're
on
talking.
point. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So well, yeah, I agree with you. I think that with the circumstances of how the world is right now, that it certainly is a possibility something like this is already taking place or showing signs that something of this magnitude could happen again.
Yes.
So I want to shift the topic and talk about more of your personal life. So once you got out of camps, how did you meet your wife?
Oh, well, that's easy. When when I came back to California, we uh, we came back to Stockton because my mother had a cousin that had a hotel in Stockton, and my mother and father found a job working picking grapes for the Gallo winery. Okay, in Stockton, in the Stockton area. Manteca was where it was. Um, uh, so that first year, I stayed at the Micasa's hotel, and they let me stay in one room. I went to high school, Stockton High School, freshman, first year, and then after that year, we moved to San Jose, and we lived on a farm close to Milpitas, just outside of Milpitas. It was a pretty big farm. My uncle farmed it, or he managed it, and the school that I attended was Santa Clara High School, and they came all the way out to Milpitas, bust, bust us, and
How far is that from Santa Clara to Milton?
it's pretty far. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think that uh, Santa Clara would be the school that I go to, but that's the district apparently. Uh, okay, so on that bus, I was a sophomore then, sophomore, junior. Then all of a sudden I was a senior, and guess who was a freshman on that bus? My wife Pearl. She was a freshman, and I was a senior. Yeah. Okay. So I met her on that bus. Yes. And okay. So then what happened? I graduated, and I went to Santa Clara University, which was in town, Santa Clara. Okay, so lunchtime, I could go to Santa Clara High School see my girlfriend.
Uh
Oh boy, I had it made.
huh.
Yes. Uh,
And when did you decide that you wanted to marry her?
okay, so I got out of. I finished my graduation at Santa Clara, and I was okay. That during that period of time, they had the draft for the army. Well, I didn't want to be drafted out of college, so I signed up for ROTC, Reserve Officers Training Corps. Santa Clara had that uh, happening there. Yeah. It was a boys' school, and so I signed up for it for the 4 years. And as a result of that, I would get a commission after graduation. So I got my orders right after I graduated,
Wow.
and I was going to be, you know, have to go to armed service, armed services. So anyhow, I figured, well, that was during the Korean War. So I didn't want to go to Korea because that was okay. The ROTC training that I got at Santa Clara was for artillery.
Wow.
Artillery in Korea, you're trained to be a forward observer. Forward observer is a guy that calls all the shots where the targets are, and you're the guy that gets knocked off first, right? Anyhow, that was not a good assignment. I was an engineer. I wanted to be in something that had to do with engineering or armament or something that had to repair. Anyhow, so I signed up for the Ordnance Corps. That's a branch of the Army that repairs vehicles, weapons, etc. Um, and so I got engaged before I went in the service. So I kind of decided who I was going to marry.
That's wonderful. So, talking about the service, how you were in the army, I remember you telling me a story pretty recently about your competitive spirit. I believe it was something to do with 16 martinis.
Oh,
I would
oh, my
love to
headache!
hear that
My
story.
headache is starting to come back. Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, that was a interesting experience. When you're an officer, you eat at the officers' club,
Right.
and the officers' club has very strict rules. You know, you can eat there, and they have a bar and all that. Um, and but I had a friend, a fellow officer who was a doctor, and he lived right across the hall from me in the BOQ. And so he was bragging about the fact that he had 15 martinis once. And I said, okay, well, that sounds kind of challenging. I think he was trying to challenge me. And of course, he was a nice guy. I accepted the challenge. So this is one Friday after work. Uh, well, we went to the officers club and we lined them up. And now, when you go in your work clothes, the fatigue uniform, you have to be out of the officers club by 6 o'clock, I think it was, because that's the rule. So anyhow, we got there early, and I started drinking. Well, I drank martinis before a little bit, but this was a challenge that I thought I could. I thought I could handle it. So anyhow, we got to the point where I got 13, and I said, "Well, line up four more, 13, three more." Yeah. Okay. So I took my three drinks and I said, "Okay, out of here." Uh, I walked out. I got in my car, and I couldn't drive it. Um, Another fellow officer drove my car back to the BOQ, the Bachelor's Officers Quarter, and that night, the next day, I was out yet.
Well, yeah, 16 for
I
you to.
know, I know, I know, but they're small. You know how how those little
I don't know. I mean, I would
has an
be
olive in it.
8. I would be. I would be in the hospital at 8. So 16 is pretty wild for you to even be able to
Well,
get into the car.
well, it took me a little while. We were there for over an hour,
That
but
hour is
I had
not enough time.
we had to get out of there, before
Right.
before the curfew. Um, so that's a story that I tell only because I don't do it anymore.
So I want to shift the topic again. We're right across the street from the Buddhist church in San Jose,
Yes.
and I know that you go every Sunday. Why do you identify as Buddhist?
Oh, well, that's easy. Um, our whole family is Buddhist. Uh, I don't know if Grandpa Okamoto was, but my my grandparents on my mother's side were, and of course my mother, I think she was born Buddhist because uh, everything she ever said, you know, um, meant that I had to be Buddhist. Okay, so that part's fine. Um, um, I wanted to make sure all my kids went. They did go, but I'm not sure they were very serious because they were in that gym across the street whenever they could get into the gym.
But why do you personally
Okay,
identify with it?
okay. I personally identify. Uh, First of all, it's my mother instilled in me uh, what I should be. Now I have to go back in the past. In camp, there was a Seventh Day Adventist minister that lived in our block. He was a very nice man, and so I had some connection or some with him. He was like the youth director of our block. Okay, so that's one experience. When we came back out of camp, we were farming on the east side of San Jose. There was a Seventh Day Adventist minister. Well, I wouldn't say minister. He must have been Uh, he used to come on a bus from Mountain View to our farm, and he would come on Saturday, uh, and he wanted to teach me. Well, I think he was sent by this minister, Reverend Hirabayashi from camp. But anyhow, I had that connection. Um, I went to a Catholic college. I had to take their Catholic philosophy. I had to answer their questions their way. I didn't believe in it. I mean, it didn't suit me. Um, what else was there? Um,
But what are some of the
okay.
characteristics of Buddhism that
What?
make you want to
Okay.
identify with it?
Okay. Reason I mentioned all of this is because uh, I didn't believe what they were preaching. I guess I have a difficulty about God and the creation and so forth. And of course, I just it doesn't fit my way of thinking now. And of course, my mother, she taught Sunday school here, um, and I can't say that she's the one that you know converted me, or not converted me, but confirmed me. Uh, and I've been going to this church ever since I got here, and everything they say make sense to me, and I just believe that. I just feel comfortable. Um, Now, what I find is Sundays here, they we get a lot of guests. They're Caucasian, and they come every Sunday. So I think it seems like there's a conversion taking place. Um, well, that's kind of unusual, isn't
Sure.
it? Okay.
Do you view it more as a religion or a philosophy?
Well, I guess it's more of a philosophy to me, because religion always seems to have something to do with uh, creation. It seems to relate to creation more so, at least my understanding of it. Yeah. So that's it fits the way I think, and I guess my biggest reason is that it's my thankfulness to my parents. Uh, uh, th- uh, this is always the thought that I've always had about my religion of Buddhism. It always takes me back to my mom and my dad and my grandparents. I can't say that I'm doing it for them, but I can't I can't stop thinking about them. Yeah.
I know
Give me
Buddhism.
another question.
Well, just to finalize a thought on Buddhism, I obviously went to the church when I was younger before I moved, and I remember in Dharma school that the only thing I remember learning was gratitude class
Yeah,
and how much they highlight being grateful. And to have that lesson instilled at such a young age, I have so much appreciation for that because I feel it's really helped me in my development and overall perception of trying to have a grateful mindset. And so I appreciate you sharing that. It's touching that your parents and your grandparents, how you feel connected with them through being Buddhist.
yeah.
So, what is, I asked you this earlier today, just when you were out in the garden, which I think is really cool that you're still gardening at 94 years old. I have a hard time bending over with my knees. So, I asked you, what's a lesson that you would like to pass down to your grandkids or your great grandkids? And you sort of thought about it, but then I rephrased the question and I asked, what's a characteristic that you would want in your grandchildren and your great grandchildren?
Yeah, you made me think a little bit, but I think I said to be open minded. And I said that, you can say you want to be open minded, but I think to prove that you are open minded, you have to kind of check yourself.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of people that they claim they're open minded, but what they say to me is not open minded. And so I know I know you can be very um, what you think you know what you're talking about, but if it just comes from you only, I like to check myself.
Right.
If I can get a few other people that agree with the way that helps confirm. And so then I think you can then be sure that you're open minded. But if you can just spout off your version of what the truth may be without checking it out, you know, you could be wrong. I don't like to be wrong that way, you know.
Well, I know you're a busy guy, so I'm going to ask only a couple more questions here. What is your favorite memory of grandma or your wife, my grandmother?
Okay. Well, I was always comfortable with her. Um, of course, it's not to say that she was like me. She wasn't exactly like me, but uh, she would have a point of view. I would have a point of view, and it seems like I wouldn't say I could talk her out of it, but but she was reasonable, and there weren't too many um, issues. And and one thing I have to say is she loved the kids. And that's one thing I was always thankful for, is that she didn't have to work. I see the families today, the moms have to work. And that is, to me, the saddest thing that can happen, but it's probably necessary. And that makes it really tough. So yeah, and Pearl liked to dance, and I wasn't a good dancer, but I could dance with her. Uh, and she liked to sing. She was very good, uh, and I liked to sing because when I was a kid in camp, I used to sing in those talent shows. You
Wow.
know, in camp they had talent shows, and my mom would push me out there, and I would sing. And so at weddings, we would we would sing together. I mean, we just were compatible. So, uh, yeah. Oh, when and she raised the kids, that's what she did. When the kids grew up, then all of a sudden she wanted to be a professional. Yeah, she wanted to make money on her own. And she wanted to be a salesperson. Yeah, selling Japanese cosmetics. Oh my gosh.
Nuevier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and she got serious. Yeah, she bought her own car.
Wow.
Yeah, we went to Hawaii. We went to all over. You know, she went to Japan a couple of times. Wow, I didn't go. Yeah.
So you feel like your compatibility and just being able to be yourself around her, those kind of embrace. It's more of your favorite memories, maybe singing and stuff, but it's more of the quality of
Yeah.
her making you feel capable of being yourself.
Well, yeah, yeah, I didn't have to worry about trying to raise the family, although there were occasions when she couldn't handle it. So when I come home from work, she'd say, "Okay, take over." What? Okay. Well, anyhow, you know, uh, yeah, it's good to have a person that you can be comfortable with.
Absolutely. All right. Well, my last question is, what's your favorite memory of me?
Oh, you know, I had forgotten about this. I talked to your mom, and I said, "Boy, that's a tough one." And then she showed me some videos, and she mentioned Thomas the Tank Engine. I said, "Oh yeah, you." We spend a lot of time watching Thomas the Tank Engine. Oh my gosh, and that really, oh, and she showed me some videos that we went to Sacramento
Right.
to see the Thomas Tank
Yeah, I
Engine.
remember that.
Oh yes, and we saw so many TV episodes of Thomas the Tank Engine. I never heard of the Thomas the Tank Engine until you brought it up, and you would tell me all the names. I was surprised at the fact that you were just a kid. I mean, no, but that was really fun.
Yeah, those are good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my favorite memory of you, just to share real quick, is I was probably about 8 years old, and we're in the Baywood house, the house that you built, or at least laid the blueprint out for. And I was eating at the kitchen table before school, and you came over and you sat across from me, and you just sat there quietly for it must have been like a minute, and you didn't say anything. And I finally was like, "What are you doing, Grandpa?" And you said, "I'm just watching you because one day I won't be able to anymore." And that's always stuck with me because I think you're just a great role model, and you being able to be a very present individual is something that I'll always appreciate. So I just appreciate you creating this family and giving us a good foundation for our morals, and you always do the right thing. And I know our whole family appreciates that.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you, Grandpa. Thanks for being my first guest. You're going to be the first of many. And
Okay.
I'm really glad we got to do this. Is
Well,
there anything else you want to say?
well, let's hope. Yeah. Well, you know why your middle name is Yoshimi.
Why don't
That's
you?
mine. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm proud of that.
Okay. Well, you're stuck with it now.
Well, that's going to be my son, or if I don't have a son and I only have daughters, one of them will be Yoshimi for their middle name in honor of you. And I've already talked to Carla about that. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's going to be a Yoshimi 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
All right, Grandpa. Thank you
Okay.
for your time.
All right.
I love
Thank
you.
you. I love you too.
All right.
Oh my gosh.